Good afternoon and welcome in Tictac Art Centre. I'm sitting here together with David Zambrano and his beautiful paintings. David Zambrano introduced two techniques, flying low and passing through, into the world of improvisation, and he inspired many through dance, choreography and teaching.
Thank you.
Thank you for receiving us, David. What most characterizes you, from my perspective, is the improvisation.
Yes.
That when you create, you work with improvisation.
Yes.
And I think it's quite fascinating how you are able to each time relate to the circumstances and the space and the time to create something.
Yes.
So my question, when you create through improvisation, how do you create the name or the creation or the concept, and what is staying equal and what is changing? Which is it a structure on which you build, or how does it go?
Yes. Okay. The way that I have somehow trained myself to work is to practice how to make a composition spontaneously, and that somehow that happens since I started dancing, and I like that very much. The desafío is the challenge to compose something in front of people that don't know you very well, in front of an audience or public, under any environment or stage. It could be a theater or an alternative place. For me, it has always been very exciting. And then I practice that all the time. Actually, I would say pretty much every day. As much as I do my flying low and the passing through. The two methods that I have created. Actually, those two methods I also have created through improvisation. It's hard to say it, what is improvisation for me, because many times is specific definition of it. But for me, it's mainly how to play with what we already know, and to go to places or into new dimensions or some kind of innovation in front of public, but based on what we already know. For example, just a simple walk. How to take a simple walk into a forest that I don't know, but it maybe will help and stimulate my body to move in different ways. And this I like very much. I would say for the name, when I give a name to a specific, frame of improvisation, like I would say, okay, for tonight I'm gonna make a piece of 20 minutes with a specific music that maybe I selected and right before, or I selected now, and then I would like to call it Choose Off. So then that's how I make my titles. It's very much to what influenced me in the moment of making. So I don't have really so close titles to, like to the whole narrative of the piece, but it's more like what has been influencing me during the process of making spontaneously. So yeah, I mean, it changes a lot. Sometimes, I have a few pieces. One is called Soul Project, and they are solos, and the performers they do solos with soul music. And in the beginning, I thought to call it Solo Project as a title of the whole piece. The piece is made of different solos, and then because of the music influence, I say, okay, Soul Project. So that's how I made that title. Then there is another title, for example, Chalk. It's a piece that I made inspired by electric shocks. and the material, the vocabulary that we developed spontaneously also was inspired by, when you touch electricity and you get a little reaction, and then I simple call it shock. So it depends on the situation. Another solo that I have, is the title came from an interview that I had just when I was thinking to perform a solo, and then on the table I had written down "My fire is still burning for you" from a fire that happened in our house when we just bought it. So then I said, okay, I call my solo "My fire is still burning for you." So yeah, that's how I make my titles. They're not so well thought, like not too long thinking, but I like also the sounds of it. Yes, so.
And can I say then that the title, so let's say if today you perform, today you create a title, or it was created like 1 week, 2 weeks before when it was programmed?
Yes, it always depends, because sometimes in my travelings I like to, I read some phrases in some announcements and commercials, etc., and I say, oh, that's a nice title to use one day, or I have an idea putting two words together, and then I write them down, and then all of a sudden when I'm gonna make a piece I say, okay, why not, let's call it Age, Anyways, it's also about, like the group is made of different ages, so let's call it Age. But age is also something that I'm dealing with, because my age is not that young anymore, so why not to call it Age? So yeah, sometimes I have the titles prior, or I make the title just before.
Mm-hmm. And can I say that then the title is a part of your inspiration on the moment to create?
Yes.
Is it something which you take with you in the space and in the time?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. I had the chance to have some little classes, but very little, just introducement. And what I noticed in the flying low is that it made me think about how the children move. Because my daughter was also smaller that moment, and I remembered I could see like the children moving.
Yes.
Was it also a kind of an inspiration for you to research the movement through the children, or it is just by accident?
I think, well, I don't know if it's just by accident, but I've never been a trained dancer, except that how I train myself with what I created, like in this case flying low, and then wherever I am investigating through the improvisation. And sometimes because of that, the movements are more related to, like, ordinary movements or regular everyday movements, colloquial language, and then if we go into the floor, and 4 legs, for example, is related maybe to animals or babies, or crawling babies, or rolling, babies, and yes, but I don't have that image in my head, but I see the association with it, like when I look the two of them together, I can see. And then some children, when they are watching, especially very young children, like before 5 years old, they immediately get into trying to do something like that, and and it's not so different. I mean, but of course, we practice it very well guided consciously. So
yeah, of course. Also, something which struck me is that it feels like a natural way of moving if I compare to other contemporary dance forms. It's on the floor, it's rolling, it's intensive, but it feels, for one or another reason, it feels like more natural.
Yeah.
Like I have less the feeling that, okay, I can break my body. It's I feel, okay, I'm taking care of my body even if I'm rolling on the ground. And
okay.
so I don't know if is it something which is inside of this technique, or is it came by nature?
I think I arrived into that by teaching it, by doing it, by developing it. And I never thought of it before, especially the softness of how to go into the floor and out of the floor. That came from a lot of practice, like, how can I really not hurt myself so much, because I used to love to go, to smash myself down. And, and then I thought, well, it must be other ways. So, so for some other fields like martial arts, they call it soft chi or hard chi. So I went into that and to more softness, But then later I got images of like, what about if we imagine that we go into the earth and out of the earth without stopping? So then in order to do that, you had to become really soft, and then your whole body, only the muscles and the bones, but the whole essence, the whole energy. And then to make it continuously, so I had to do it with, some ways of thinking in spirals. So then that made it a little bit easier to understand. And then, of course, spirals is like the base for life in general, the whole universe, our DNA, our bones, structures, many things, and spirals, so that immediately connects to nature. So then I thought, well, it's not so bad. It goes easier, smoother, and it gets to more invitational. So it helps to invite the whole room, including the other people. So it feels like a social dancing. Yeah. So in that way, this I found also maybe also related to folk dances in the villages. With in the middle of the village of Venezuela, celebrating a religious
and welcome
ceremony.
to
We have a lot of
Crossroads in
dancing
Dance.
there. I come from Venezuela.
I am
It's a
Maya
dance
Sapera,
culture.
your host
So
for
then,
today. To
when
me,
you go
the act of
to
creating
specific
is
days,
one
like
of the
the
most
24th of
beautiful
June, St.
experiences
John's Day,
existing.
and then you do
I
the
connect to
drum dance,
myself,
and whole
alone
village is
or with my
dancing,
co-creators,
So that's,
and express my deepest
it's also
feelings and
part
thoughts.
of my life, and then
My body
somehow
becomes a
it
vehicle.
gets exposed.
As the
to
saying
what
goes,
I'm
the body
making
never
and,
lies.
moving through my
The
body and
lockdown
transmitting it
period
to people.
was to me a time
So I
of
think that influenced
inspiration, reflection, and sharing. To
whatever
Crossroads
I
in
teach,
Dance,
flying low,
I want to
passing
share
through,
conversations
improvisation, the
with
social
inspiring
aspect of
people
dance,
with
or
you.
the celebration
Be sure to
of
check
a moment
our
with
website on
movements with a lot of people. This is
cross-roads.be
very much
and
what I
our
like to do
Facebook
the
page,
most.
Crossroads in Dance.
I think that's also something which I wrote down. I tried to write some words down when I was looking and see, okay, which words are coming to my mind. And one of the things was all indeed like roots. You see, it's contemporary dance, there is no doubt about it. But somewhere you feel the roots, something is there. And then I saw that you created also one piece, ceviche. I don't know how I have
Ceviche, yes.
Ceviche?
Yes, this is for 5 women from Czech Republic.
Okay.
Yes.
And I understand it was inspired by a folk dance?
Well, by the social aspect of dance, yes.
Yeah.
Somehow there's also folk dance, but no, the inspiration came mainly from the 5 women, because they have, each one has a very unique way of approaching movement. So I thought, and then they love also performing improvisation. So I say, okay, I'm gonna make a structure for them. And ceviche is related to rawness, like crude, not well cooked. Actually, it's not cooked. Ceviche is a dish from Peru, I believe. It's you put the fish on lemon, and then you marinate it there until you can eat it. I think overnight or something like that. Mm-hmm. So then it's not like very well cooked. If we're talking about choreography, it's not like made through 6 months. It's just fresh, it's spontaneous, it's somehow raw. So I call the ceviche related to that. Yes, and I like that piece a lot, because women are very strong, and they shared the stage with 5 musicians, and the musicians also participate in the movement. So everybody is involved. I like that.
And when you say that you give them a structure, like which kind of structure do you give them?
Yes, well, it's a little bit abstract because it's mainly based on time and specific quality to use in that time and the space, and how much you can transform the whole stage into different spaces, like a home or a house, and then and so you have, for example, a solo of 2 minutes, only in that corner, and with 3 musicians. So that's a little structure, for example, and then the other one, when you come out from that corner, you will meet 3 other ones, and then you do a quarteto for 7 minutes with in silence. So musicians rest in that time. So a little bit like that, and then is the quality, under what. So I can say, okay, you do a solo there and for 3 minutes with 2 musicians, and then you cannot go higher than your waist. So everything has to be low and somehow very eloquent. So it has to be very clear in every aspect of it. So it's like this. So then I put it together, and then visually I can see if it works with the time and the space and the music and what they are presenting, and then I make them to repeat it over and over spontaneously until they get really well the sense of the playfulness of right here, right now. And then, yes, that's how we practice it.
I can imagine that the sense of time, it's difficult when you perform. Okay, space, you can see it. It's something which you can always see. But time, how you experience time, it's different than when performing, when practicing, no? Or
Yes and no. I mean, for example, for Soul Project, when we did the solos, we practice performing for each other like maximum 5 minutes, so from 3 to 5 minutes. But we became really good in performing 3 minutes in silence, and it was not time. But at the beginning we were timing it, to really sense the 3 minutes, and then later it became like automatic program. So then I thought maybe it's also related to the kind of composition that we start, practicing, like a piece of music that is 3 minutes long. So if you remember a piece of music that it starts, and then has an end, and then it's just 3 minutes, and then you are singing that song somewhere in your body as you are doing your solo, that helps you to practice 3 minutes, and then becomes like a program. Your body does 3 minutes. I know, for example, what it means. I go to perform 10 minutes. So I say, okay, this is gonna be 10 minutes, but it will be like maybe 9 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes. That's okay. It's not so much, not so difficult. And then like this, I mean, sometimes I say, okay, we're gonna do a long performance. It's gonna be 45 minutes to 1 hour, and then that's what we do. And then many times it's by the practice. We can arrive into, it will be like from 40 to 45 minutes. So it's not very precise, but sometimes yes, but many times it's between this and that. So it's very difficult when people ask me, how long is gonna be your piece, and I say, well, from 10 to 50 minutes is a little bit difficult for whoever is presenting a program. But in the case, for example, of Ceviche, the timing was given by the musicians, so that was helping. And then sometimes, depending on the theater and the facilities, the timing is given by the lights changing. So there are some cues that help us also, besides the practice of the specific time by doing it with the body. Mm-hmm. But yes, we can really practice to perform like a piece of music. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I see also that the choice of music it's also I cannot categorize it, but it's a kind of specific. How to say? There is always a kind of what I saw. I didn't see everything, of course. A kind of liveliness in it. What did I notice? Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the project.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes, it always depends on the project. I mean, and also on my present. Well, I love pop music. I love jazz music. I got to know a little bit more classical music. So like for example, Chalk is the music is from the requiems from Mozart combined with Bizet, but also I play Elvis Presley, one song. So it gets a little bit of shift. And well, Soul Project is mainly soul music. Well, and it's mainly soul music from United States. I think I put into it some Latin singers, because that's my background, but also to give a little bit of a shock. I have other pieces. I mean, ballroom I do with jazz music from Thelonious Monk, but I put a piece of Tito Puente just to give a little bit of a hinge, like spice, and then also a group. I forget, Sally Lex, X-Lex Sally. It's a group from Belgium actually, and I used like two pieces of them, like 1 minute each, and that's a little bit like to cut a little bit of the jazz music, and this I like a lot, I must say. Yes, I call that like a little commercials, like come and abruptly interrupt. But for many people, it's not so. I mean, I say it's a distraction, But for me, it's an exciting distraction that I call commercials. Like, okay, you have all these very serious things, and then we go just a little bit off, and then we come back to this serious part. So yes, yeah. But the music, it always depends, And lately, I mean, the other day I did 45 minutes with the Carpenters. I mean, it's somehow it's a very boring music, but it's part of my life also. When I used to go to supermarkets in Venezuela, they have air condition. My sisters used to love the music inside the supermarket with air condition because outside was so warm and and humid. So then you go inside and you are listening to the music and buying your food or clothes. And then the music in that time, as when I was young, was a Carpenter. So so that's a music for buying the supermarket, music for malls, or Christmas music. I don't know. But anyways, I thought, well, I would like to use that part of my experience for so the whole CD. So so it always depends on that, But jazz still stays very strong. That I must say that, yes.
You work also sometimes with live musicians. How do you create then together with them dance and music?
Well, most of the time that I play with live music has been quite spontaneous. We hardly make a structure. Well, once again, I'm sorry. Only times, like we say, okay, we do a piece 2 minutes, and then immediately 5 minutes, and then 7 minutes, just to make a little variation in the 1 hour performance. But I like very much to play with live music, really spontaneous, not to make so much of pre-thought. I find that, for my experience, very fascinating. But if the group is very big, and then there we need to make more limitations somehow, because otherwise it will go to too many directions. So it's a little bit difficult to have a common sense. So there I would say yes, like Ceviche with the women from Czech Republic. There, we had more set structure. Yeah, that helps also for the whole time all together.
Painting is also a part of your life. Does it sometimes go together with your performance? Could you say, okay, this one piece is this dance and this painting together, or is it really two separate worlds? Does the painting inspire your dance the painting, or?
Well, that's a really good question. When I was very young, my father used to collect a lot of paintings. I mean, he did it all his life. Very different taste than mine, but the house was full of paintings, mainly realistic paintings, you know. And through the years of my travelings and then visiting so many countries, I started collecting art, not only painting, but sculptures, you know, jewelry, I mean, different. I love handcraft, embroidery, you know, things that I still can see the beauty, the eloquent beauty of the hands movements through so many centuries in one piece of fabric or in a piece of jewelry or in a painting, you know, like naive painting or indigenous paintings. And this for some reason I liked it a lot. So I collected for many years, and then when I was 50, I thought, well, maybe I would like to try also myself to paint. So I went into it, and then I like it a lot. And then, you know, when I was 50, I choreographed the whole year in number 50. So I did 50 days workshop for 50 people around the world. I did 50 days painting, 50 minutes performances, 50 villages performances around the world. So that 50 days painting was like the birth of me as, you know, playing with colors. But the way that I approach it is very similar to the way that I approach dance. You know, I didn't want to go to a place to learn how to paint. In other words, I still don't have a really good perspective, and you know. But I love naive art, and I love, you know, the very frontal and primitive art, and you know, so I like to paint like that, and I see the hand as I do my drawings before I do the colors. I see it also as a dance. So yeah, I did a piece where I use paint, blue paint actually, and it was a duo, and that's more recently, but recently, like 10 years ago, but well, no, maybe 7 years ago, but somehow recently, and yes, there we use blue painting that we throw on the floor, and then we put our feet in there, and we started doing our dance feet through each other on the bodies, and all the clothes are white, so then at the end everything is blue. So yeah, it's quite yeah, I like that's more like a children play, but I like the duo. My partner in that piece is a clown, so it's also very funny to watch. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, also that's what I wanted to do when we opened Tictac Art Centre 2 years ago. I wanted to also combine it with my other fields in art, you know, so paintings for sure, or visual arts. So here we can have residency for visual artists, and also costumes, because I like to make clothes, and my partner too. So we have some machines and then practicing that, and then the dancing or performance art, you know, from theater to circus. Classes are offered here, not only my classes but also other people's classes. So the combination of all that together, you know, sometimes is very exciting.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's also, how to say, when you dance, you could also say, okay, when you paint, it's on a piece of paper or on a paper, I would say. When you dance, could you also say it's like dancing, painting in the space? Are you seeing those lines that you are making in the space, or is it?
Well, I would say the playfulness of how to shape energy into different forms, and then different places in the room, and this I like. Also, I see it as pathways. Mm-hmm. Yes, and sometimes in the painting, if you have a brush that goes like this, that's already a nice movement, that we can immediately use as an inspiration, and vice versa. And then in which part of the page I will start my painting, is in which part of the room I will start my dancing. Is still the way of approaching time and space is very similar. It's just one is flat, and the other one is more with all the senses. The transmission is different.
You just also said that you also like to make costumes, like your partner. How does that go for a performance? Did you say, okay, today I feel like this, so I take this?
Yes.
Or, yeah?
Yeah, it is like that. It is like that. It is really like that. Yes. And sometimes my partner is making, like a shirt that is, has some inspiration to use it immediately and do something with that on the stage. Yes, and then I say, okay, maybe I do next Saturday something like that. So, So yes, but sometimes the clothes are very limited for the movement, because you can break it, or they are very beautiful looking pieces of art, but when you go inside, they are limited. So that helps also to play with the limitation of it, So it gives immediately a new inspiration for vocabulary that I would never practice if I don't have this kind of clothes. So it helps also to arrive into new places.
Interesting. You were talking about those 5 ladies, and I know you work with groups also sometimes, and so I understand that you use the technique of passing through to manage a group. Could you just introduce us to the system of that, to the
Yes.
basic to that? How do we understand passing through?
Yes, well, if I see it now, because it was not like this when I started developing this work, when I see it now, it's really a social-centric composition, where the whole group, like in the old communities or indigenous communities, the group, the community they get together and make decisions of what to do next, to help here and there, what is necessary for the community, etc., and how each one of them can help to make that happen. So in this choreography or composition, each person really practice how to lead and follow in a way that they can balance leading and following each other through their whole room, and then that can they can go under people, over people, or around people through the whole room, constantly traveling through pathways in curves. It's no straight line, but only in curved, and the bodies become pathways, so anyone can easily follow. Like every movement that we are making is interconnected with the room in a pathway, and that immediately helps to get an interconnectivity. The limit is the room, but inside this limitation there are infinite possible pathways or ways to go through. So it's also the practice of the infinite possibilities inside a defined place. So it's somehow a clear structure for the whole group. It has to be constantly incurved, and by doing this, the bodies become also spirals. So the spirals is part of it at the same time. So yeah, that's very much how I will get it. We always go somewhere. That means that we need to arrive. So there is always a destination, and then from there go to the next destination, and then from there to the next destination. Most of the trips are long or short or medium-sized trips, so they are all the scale of sizes, we practice. And it's quite physical work because you're constantly moving through the whole room. And then also when you see it for a while from outside, reminds you a little bit of flock of birds in the sky. And when it becomes like, or the northern lights, and also there's a school of fish on the sea, or at the same time the mosquitoes in the flies in the garden, when you go and they go all, it's like a cloud, mosquitoes, but somehow they always going somewhere, and you going through them, and so it's a little bit like that. But and it's great to do it together in a group, and then to do it together for a long time becomes almost like a meditation. Yes.
Nice. So we had music and costumes and solo and group, and of course there is also the lights. Do you ask something to your light person? Okay, I want this mood today, or you say, okay, light person is also free to go with what I do, or is it something which is not so much important?
No, it always depends. I'm sorry, because every project is very different. I don't have like very specific way. Sometimes I have really specific lights. I have, especially in a few pieces, some of my solos, I have a solo that if I do this, the whole room changes into red. And I have another solo that, just in one movement, everything becomes totally green. So that's a very specific lights, change the whole atmosphere, and then how that color light influence your body, as you're performing. And then also atmospheres, like how by watching for a while, things start changing, very silky, not too strong. And also, the viewer arrive into, a beautiful foggy night or something. So that's sometimes I like to play like that, with very specific lights. But for maybe 10 years, I work with Ellen Canop. Ellen Canop is a lighting designer from Amsterdam, and she also likes to play spontaneously with lights. So when we play together for all my projects, I just let her do her own light, because I love whatever she was doing, and then I just trust that the combination together is out of my control. So then, but for other people, I will be a little bit on top, as asking for this and that, and so it depends. I love the daylight. I love how the daylight changes. So it has been great to perform, with the early morning, midday, late afternoon, and then almost in the dawn, like very dark. Yes, and sometimes I like to provoke that on the stage. And I also love to be inside the light screen of a video projector, like if I were a film. So it always depends on the project, but yes, I think light influences a lot the body and also the senses, So yes, I like to play with light. If I have them, I like to play with them, yes.
They always say that the beginning and the end of a performance are important moments for the public, for the audience. The beginning to to catch your performance and the end to what are you giving with them when they go. How do you feel about beginning and ending?
Well, there is that tradition, yes, and that tradition is also in my body. I think it's really, from my own experience, it's very exciting when the transmitter, in that case the performer or whoever is performing, the group, can immediately take our attention and then from the beginning, but for me it's from the beginning until the end. Yes, so the whole shape of that moment, I found it very important. I mean, because you have a strong beginning, you have a climax or an orgasmic experience, at least for a moment. It goes all the way up or all the way down, and then you start towards the end, and then you have the final. Yes, but with some of the artists that I worked before, older than me, that when I was working for them, especially jazz composers, I work with a few musicians in the United States, in New York, and then also in Germany. What they would say most of the time was, okay, we're gonna do this piece, really good beginning, good end, and then we see what happens in the middle, and then and I thought, wow, I heard that from different sources also, it's a good beginning, a good end, the rest don't worry, and sometimes I like that too, it's somehow it's in my body too, how to catch it and then how to leave it. But the development of it, I love to also achieve, so you keep the tension and attention of whoever is watching you. Yeah, I think that's, for my experience, is very important.
Something which I noticed also is when I entered here the first time, and also when I looked at your videos, I feel like somehow it's a dance school, but it's also kind of house atmosphere. And at the same time, I feel like the whole world is in the house. I don't know,
Yeah.
That's here when I come in the school, but the same thing I noticed also in the movies, in the films I saw. So I think it's something special.
Wow.
So I don't know if you want to say something about that.
Well, my partner Matt Voorter and I, we love interior design, and inside that we love colors, and of course not all the combination of colors, depending also on the building, or the architecture, the way that the light goes through the windows, etc. And I also, have a big collection of art, and I love to present different artists, especially in the Tictac Art Centre. So then, and we too love to welcome people, So how to make an art center that is homey, but at the same time represents different cultures, and at the same time, it's a place that you can work and to create or to teach or to transmit in general your vision of life through your art. So yeah, I mean, and I used to clean houses in New York City for many years, so I like the space neat. I always loved to arrive into a hotel whenever I was traveling, or a house that it has a little a welcome sensation of clean sheets and very well stretched, and then you have a nice way of serving the food, and and then you see the walls, and then it feels somehow that you are welcoming. So this I always liked, so why not to make it in this place too? Yes, and it's also for the young people to feel like they can stay here the whole day, you know, or work in the computer, or having a cafecito in the cantina, or I don't know, smoking grass in the patio, or you know, or dancing all day, you know. So yeah, I like it. It's a little bit of a oasis for arts in the middle of nowhere, you know. So that's great.
Yeah, nice. We were speaking about your work, but I think the trajectory that you made in your life is also quite impressive. You come from Venezuela and you got your permit to stay in Holland, I understand. So I think that's quite some journey
Yes.
that you made, and that's a great thing to do. I think that also can inspire other people to go for your dream.
Yes, yes. I mean, yes. I mean, it took me 21 years, you know, to arrive into that desire for going for my dreams. But before I was 21, I never had thought like that at all. I mean, I wanted to stay in one place and just, you know, work with mathematics but the dancing was always there, and I thought, okay, I want to take it somewhere, and I had to leave my country in order to do that. So first I went to United States, 18 years, and then after that Europe, mainly Amsterdam, but all the time traveling a lot through different countries. And now it's basically between Amsterdam and Brussels. And I have become a Dutch citizen. So I still love Venezuela. Actually, I am Venezuela. It's still inside of me, and everything that I do, Venezuela comes through a little bit. But it's a political situation there. It's disastrous. It's a big mess, and you know I cannot go back, you know, so easy. I'm self-exile. You know, it's a really beautiful landscape, but full of troubles. So I prefer to right now to be in a place that I can do what I love, and then transmit it to people, and then play with other, you know, cultures that can influence me and inspire me. Yeah, continue living. Yes, definitely. I mean, I think it's great to travel and then to understand that you can eat food with your hands, or with two sticks of wood or metal, depending on the country, and also with a spoon and fork and knife. So, you know, this is really great to understand that you can, you know, use toilet paper after you finish your, you know, your toilet things, number 2, or you can just wash it off, you know. So then, you know, it's really beautiful to see the different approaches of life in the whole world, and then, you know, to learn also the adaptability that we all have as human beings. So yes, this is pretty much, I like it.
Is there something that you wish for the dance world?
Well, it's not only for the dance world, but in general, especially after these 2 quarantines from COVID-19. I think more than ever, it's really great to go for what we love, and to make sure that that thing that we love is transmittable, and it helps our whole human race to continue living harmoniously. And I think when we go to do for what we love, there is always a door open for, I would say, the universe, you know, the energy that can easily go through it. And more than spending many years doing something that you just don't like, but you feel like you have to. And as I think for many people that I know, and including my family, I think this is terrible. You know, to arrive into certain age and then, you know, thinking maybe I will do what I love one day, you know, but that day is too late, especially now. So I would say, if you find something that you love, just go for it. Don't worry about the finances and don't worry about, just, but when you are click into it, people will come and help you. Sooner or later, people will come and help you. But with the speed of life nowadays, thanks to the digital technology, our patience is only 1 minute. So then it's a little bit difficult to wait, so, say, no, I had to make, something out of it. But no, go for what you love. It comes from you, through your heart, it's really great, and then, keep your imagination playful, and happening. Yeah.
That's a beautiful wish. Is there something else you want to share?
I think that was a big one, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, David, for your time.
Yes.
And your
Thank
sharing.
you, Maya.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be sure to check our website on cross-roads.be and our Facebook page, Crossroads in Dance.